companies metal all over the retrust into the business building standards of our rising hospitals into war to Russia, like you and said that full membership stars like these kind of escalation right now and nuclear war rate 24 or left wing our local government regional most hugely important to sector from our regional elements events about escalationary completely accommodation will see in hard power it's key for our PhD with allied who should reinvigorate our credibility about the funding access that you cost obviously information used for confidentiality to resource ones these emerging consider about all the things and we all the seek to do trying to provide to credibility direction to trace our relational locations or to be the computer to the official goals off the years check out the request meeting the street value application on also the approach to be using undermine strategies specifically about the impact international coalition to address the US telecom cables there were like 4 ratifying possible to find our local telecom cables and several technical country US already between the international coalition and the challenge of this citation is guaranteed processing international security that are city and like they said this is the coverage that feels to be the morning complicated about tiles wasn't going to be micro or period is one of the worst in marketing or going to agree with that joint people solve this makes you feel our operation more credible also demonstrating and non-escalation about 24 and you try to combat strategy with more people are like she's always talking about this or also with has other she's leading on the rise you come here use with the common translation of the ice going lost our opportunity to really rapid people in critical she's typing on now she's systematic knowledge see live without this solutions really rapid will do for access to streets of encouraging use of using basic utilities of Vancouver the easy writing to organizations increasing the trust that you can measure cash but it's similar to check the information possession of the financial affairs so that this huge obviously able to receive possibilities for use interest and Spanish mining. Adversaries that has on DC mining field 24 you plus DC mining to work with the influential period areas one after focus with the nervous line to give me the policy situation try to go on there's all new tree you can use some bullshit critical enterprise pretty when his after the real the previous negotiating plus the civil CIL with our regulation members for design versus mining for that international resource digital city states new to security critical by the security considered conservation plus time for a short process but what you're to just be monthly 24 critical minerals much of the world is protecting the ice development of the together in the lab only option zero times exterior restored looking sources for a very similar to my size under which you possible option within the disadvantage of better artificial knowledge membership and loss is these of the access to the sectors having already trying to take in half of my site 24. You would like artificial knowledge we can see that you are lost here we could change critical learners to create all this community action creates a lot of learning to tiny summons where I am involves them dexterous readiness and press is which more. We should critical learners of the very published by which is in our reports are facing to try to file the work related to such as clear power plus the current resume space there service and laundry power relation even that includes visual that have been made of the present is what you turn all the pills very well now you're being tired specific learners and treated by the live on will prepare for all with that green lights global information is in World War III and 24 working on my bread that you know parents did already from the water I think the first part of the knowledge of the about space you can wall use critical not as a territory and the American needs and specifically exacerbate tensions right Taiwan escalation inevitable to 2. Try on stories of the possibility to put some of the energy to push up one of the military on the shores where EU watching the local China's compatible to the US that either educational fund conference giving each other hand Taiwan invasion classes use lines and triggers and extinction and increases in Taiwan great indications the year should have access to the US office around the living with people to pay the biggest little use in the series something like the theory will already serve his team in the July season war high media state wars or select to the event in your time to pass the restart base fashion realize very fundamentally transform the world eradication negotiation but I see all grants 24. You plus has comes from to play supervisors to CCS games originally with according to researchers and researchers and just on animation present problems finding interest in the navigation without series completely and to play any decision use along for reservations on artificial is pilot that negotiation for possibly plus members or divisions. Good punch. Okay, so the bond cards and then China significant loan in months it's from 2024 when the China has petitioned the ISA to create a new regulation paradigm that would exclude all US mining companies by July 2025.
Wait, and then where does it say that we like to be completely cut like Chinese dominance of REs because they already have such a head start? There's just like if they already have such a head start, then why do we reduce reliance necessarily in like this time frame?
The argument is not whether or not the United States is able to crush China's own ability to access the sector, but whether or not the United States is able to access the sector too. The argument is saying that China's head start and the United States' inability to participate in the mining of the continental shelf means it will be consistently over-reliant on China, and therefore we will not be able to develop a strong defensive industrial base being able to access these critical minerals are able to avoid US over-reliance and allow us to regain our mining sites, which are key to being able to avoid things like Taiwan conflict, escalation, growth, etc.
Okay, why does China want to this off?
Well, it's happening now. Or we've read evidence that's making a key inherency claim that China not only has interests in reducing the United States' access to RUs because it means that we cannot have a strong military and therefore we would lose conflicts like China, taking over Taiwan. But also, we've seen that China has already taken half of our mining sites because it's geopolitically advantageous to do so, and it did not believe that.
Okay, I think it's US perception, China's perception of US weakness, why has been like already, the stuff they've already cut off not been sufficient enough to trigger enough time?
Well, we've read arguments that say that the United States is still able, as of like right now, the United States is still able to access the continental shelf, but it's insufficient. This means that we are still being able to access REMs, but by 2025 we'll not be able to. So the argument is that the United States is so weak by 2025.
China's already cutting off, like when I said, okay, you said China is already cutting off REM access in the US right now. If the link is just like perception of US weakness, why is them already cutting off supply not sufficient to trigger
The
that?
link is not just, the internal link is not just weakness. The United States not having access to any REMs or any REM production like avenues means that we literally cannot fight in a war because we do not have the materials with which to sustain a military intervention.
Where does it say we absolutely need like REMs to sustain military intervention?
Well, we've read arguments that say that the United States' access to REMs or allows us to do things like engage in AI, like create new military technologies.
Okay, where does that mean creating new military technology? Why does it mean if China attacks now, we still can't like bomb that?
Obviously, this is a super rudimentary statement to make. The Florida evidence says that the lack of membership clause will leave Washington at a competitive disadvantage because not only can we not access like legal claims, but cannot engage in like future innovation or R&D manufacturing and like engage in like.
Okay, so when is China
creating
gonna attack?
priorities.
Because if we have the military capabilities, right, it's not gonna remove any of our current military capabilities, when is China gonna? Like, as soon as they cut off?
I guess I don't really understand your question. The whole point of having a rigorous military is the ability to innovate. The United States having no access to minerals means we cannot innovate any new technological advances in the military. Also means we can't sustain a viable military because we cannot make any new like developments.
Thank
I'm not enough. Yeah, I'm sorry, I still. Okay, cool. Constructive after investigations, resources, make explanation, obligation, that the alternative is radical, making the law of the sea favor when new law of governance to the end proceed or to the spirit of the state, otherwise handles criminal insurrection phase of 1 crisis around 22. The most order of the spiritual qualifications to imagine their sheets, legislation, resides all trends, comments, agencies, and research, and legal matters, and the opportunity to the versus having lessons to make other organizations of desirable, it was rather than the space, with next first side, where the assumption of the table minority and aware people straight up the same word, should always on the church for our quality, this is not the ideology for certain. And the right possibilities of those personality of the possibilities of the comparison, the responsibility based on the level with our position of the opposition for the that's just following the understanding bachelor of nature and sound, just like show up the many more for the motivation that are just the usual the share this is more like instructions. Because only work is movable to knowledge and there's no choice and knowledge. I acknowledge what I'm using the just stand public service unit to make subtractions to the case, part 16. Only by all the numbers of the natural world and all the percent to your worship to see some units. The ones where there's a much more specifically important you means to only going to and so on the ones you love you are the ones who yeah, that's a problem. Definitely positive for getting people on board with efficiency is key, match 410. Open zero budget framework on top. Doesn't work stop the juvenile with budget plan before answering the next one is where the job these two stuff. Yeah, some information and all this whole budget and be ready to write simple level for everybody that should have flushed. They're very flush 14. This is well, guess what? It's the transparency here. And the resolution treaty that we have the financial these the hardest of public parties verbal institutions, local conspiracies, and default is ready to serve global public escalation and top after cyber attacks, version 3. If the US were to default regulation represents to one guarantee the application to ensure about things, default under and trusting in the global and instructing on the general national because military running to identify the possibility to learn policy operation by against China and share life is different. Public direct regular model decorating its laws by violations and check. Covered inequality analysis table regulating ourselves so several revenue restrictions and they're the United States proposed ratified implementing that also supplied functioning organizing the United States special policy originating general information collection that causes this growing by rather than question the purchase the personal data and very anxious of course the part of the French and there's not working order 19 percent intelligence gathering considering election the lower and the employment of American intelligence and American intelligence article 19 establishes classification intelligence gathering and monitoring is the function of kill their intelligence and one agreement solved 21. President argued up about how zero down the American answer model seems to also apply for those two resolution years and negotiating and some possibility increasing the rest of the money to God and that's the screening the way we are working and then over to and intelligence gathering by us and considering some happened to your expert rather we're going to say legal ambiguity some translation and let's have the issue as we do must be 30 prior to session question 20. Like the very picture made from asking on our rules of the sorry, our news question, president, intelligence questions, legal and legal affairs, and active
The U.S. considering such construction as well as U.S. possession of the last one amendment. Previous actions drop and two investors intelligence is key to internal running understanding infrastructure like people collection. Great. Those things management may be resident see Harvard I really need 3 years of national technology and cable class existential benefit 19. These are receivables $1 trillion. Shut up, system using foreign clearing, more space to shop over and entering non public governments and over and million hour lines, millennium shipping to the global and American intelligence and critical morning public solution all been before. National speed intelligence National Bureau of Maritime Cherries and future any committee resolution mandates decisions section 6 section 5. The use of agency updates skip down to case as yet that's the point out before as yet down to use material communication and he got into to church access the sufficient charge before. Authority Arctic. No critical impacts and options on the credit resilient team. But there's never done use of insurance to be misplaced, misplaced, north of 420. Taking our not had to work on the report we use competition originator like each other versus builder, safety, territorial safety, Chinese administration minimize disease, Asia, European, around 30 substitute advances from reflecting or secondary energy. Mining accession price mining doesn't solve case moment, right? Team. Commission mandates for the research transfer revenue, our authority, German has ability for you guys to start a session right about it, candidates and whatever. That's somebody is turning the bureaucracy and market bureaucracy go to. No, it's trying to acquire engines, and I take one call to the end, right, your tax process from US, we're really abundant and trying to change something to followers. Any pressure is pretty much to spot surplus kind of short term American matters kind of the world.
When did you cut this in?
Vincent, I think I read all of it. It's okay.
The stuff comment.
Okay.
Size of the
Conrad.
okay. The Oceans K. How does Unicloss encourage extractive imaginary? How does it divide oceans into resource areas?
Okay, so the spirit Unicloss specifically divides those into places where you can and cannot mine, and specifically just gives countries the permission to use specific areas of the ocean for
Okay, what is a radical unmaking of the law of the sea look like?
Okay, so we basically say that the alt is unmaking of current structures of what Unicloss is, the law of the sea should be returned to kind of the spirit of the original conference of Unicloss 3, which basically say that the spirit of Unicloss 3 originally was an attempt to replace kind of structures of exploitation and colonialism present in the ocean with kind of a conference that treaty that surrounds justice and preservation of resources, and we say that right now Unicloss has just become kind of an extraction machine that gives countries permission to just use the resources for their lives.
The SPR plan elections evidence where in Article 19 does it outlaw and does it lay out that intelligence gathering vessels are deemed as not pacifist?
We say that So this card talks about how the Hutchins like card specifically talks about how, like the intelligence collection and because prohibits any act of claiming, any act aimed at collecting information to the prejudice of the coastal state. You see that like this Hutchins card specifically says that any form of espionage would be prohibited in innocent passage, which means like, I mean, I can like reaching more specific, but we basically say that like right now the like.
That was
espionage
the
under
question. The Hutchins, I asked, where in the Hutchins evidence say that like intelligence gathering vessels are not subject to innocent passage?
I mean, okay, so this card just basically the position that non-innocent passage can permit espionage, eroded, nonsensical permit prohibition, or not recognizing for like the end of the second Hutchins card says that like.
The Hutchins evidence says that the Senate is in a bind trying to determine whether or not to ratify that being found needs to conduct maritime espionage. How does this indicate that like this is definite or that intelligence gathering vessels are like extremely not subjected to innocent passage?
Okay, so the second Hutchins card specifically talks about how UCLOS bans intelligence collection. It specifically talks about like the mechanisms for intelligence collection that UCLOS bans. The first Hutchins card talks, says that an implementing agreement would solve and also that like the US would be unable to stop like like we would have to stop organizing. The second Hutchins card specifically talks about the part taking place.
Order is diplomacy, mining, the Oceans K, the espionage counter plan, the debt ceiling. Okay, anyone often? Diplomacy did it, continue to see how you see the people not anything, no report, etc. The diplomacy did it will answer their will answer you see this coming evidence, your version of the type of evidence more recent written this was written by the independence defense instrument minister specifically about the Chinese and on the same Pago Islands and the East China Sea, which indicates the Chinese sanctions are rising against them. And then they read two arguments. First, the accession is worse. China says the companies are political bureaucracy. This is definitely done by years of other independent governing bodies, but it also does not matter because by the July 2025, the United States companies will have no access to any mining claims. This is all or nothing. This is a chance of ineffective mining does not matter in the face of no opportunity for the United States mining and complete Chinese authority to like results in the ISA. And ISA knows that China, China, the reason for 2019 does not assume where earth metals that are found specifically in the continental crust. It's just talking about the card. It's just talking about organs that are commonly found in land masses which can be replaced with inland masses, but do not assume the United States being completely cut off from any mining venues, which means we're not able to access rare minerals that are specifically found on the oceanic crust, on the ocean's K1, ferrochrome, hypersignaling, lost optimal links, the unique and causal material, also unfairness, completely unfair, ferrochrome, hypersignaling, sea, clashing, creature, within space, within the dog, then it's multi with intelligence and board, distinction, first magnitude, balance, equilibrium, which wrong, which was right, however, which wrong, which wrong, causing possibly malicious harvest, and there's engaging in who's living, nothing to live, be alive, for both, for no line, the alternative result, they try to get both, which is all links, the plan, for the gap, that once the results, every small, like, it got for Marie Commons is Uniclass, East Country one vote, either the LPLs or Uniclass is the all. Once mutual and very great loss of things to the revival specific Uniclass, which revelation in depth and there was no definition of revival, using the bigger salvation was there in the future. Yeah, it's good to keep the process charges and radiation and within drop. The all fails, it fails 8 times from L cancel critical argument condition motivation passive impacts and that's the matter of reason the all is too slow and presentation of the third which Uniclass rather than one third to the dialogue is accuracy with the opposite understand see really questions and lists and subsequently go things have made it easy high this common heritage issues that the development is what it is intervening the size of those implementation next espionage content. No, we've inserted the firm tax assault internal benefits because the conditions accepted only greatly used to install anyways to don't have to work. So we can see the events that advantage succession alone solves mining advantages insulated from the cooperation award. The tax business for below espionage purpose just like sees to cost but clarifies how the US understands the argument in its relation to US intelligence gathering that solves allows US print understanding able to swallow appropriately gathering maritime intel so it is intelligence gathering is effective US studio. Let's say or presenting nothing of basic very is passage so this hearing done the article also operating on the conditions of 793. There's no like knowledge gathering is considered the small vertical private or like the other across my two intelligence people in terms of what's being possible to go replicating our logic to this passages and those is using the intelligence collection going to that ceiling. That ceiling won't be raised now until 49 the moment to that level music that lets the one molecules going to be either sense of how one molecule that this is raised the extraordinary measure solve Harry 27 measures we get employment extraordinary last until August 16, 2025, or they will attach to must pass legislation like the plan shows 25, pass resolutions that don't state the last another of the restricting those options must pass item on the agenda. Impact is inevitable, all pathways are triggered, or else the use government continues to develop the severity pass, convert from section those steps all the going over to work or leaving someone without a law, but national music law, so it cuts through the impact is before 9 laws, the following the level, you let government services and parents allow me us to concern these students with scaffold. It won't, and that go back on the espionage content, it won't impact the state intelligence activities. Under 12, the England to understand that the convention will not affect US intelligence activities, and it's the consensus among US intelligence agencies. Under 12, the activity intelligence community for beauty in the US, accession will not adversely affect US intelligence collection or activities. It won't, I guess, go on to, or that's it. $230. Stand on decay. Contextualizate subpoint B on all fails. Okay, is that it? Yeah. Oh, and it's subpoint 6. Okay.
is gonna be the K just add maritime intelligence piece. I'm gonna talk about it sometime. Anyone already? I think the K can see depends on the disad, the plan. Kick out of all three of the plans, not going for them, terms are just a test of competition, they're not actual advocacy, don't validate them, I'm gonna go for the counter plan as a disad here, sorry, okay, I'm gonna go for the counter plan net method as a disad here, so, extend the Article 19 by the supervision to ensure maritime intelligence collection that's bad because lack of intelligence operations. We can't monitor cables and ensure others can tamper with cables. Cable causes extinction to ensure low internet allow us to easily estimate miscalculation means to happen anytime it happens quickly happens like really quickly. Miscalculation means that as soon as cables are actively wanting to move in on our cables, the student, as we implement the plan, as they're going to kind of means we won't be able to surveil, which means miscalculation immediately causes it because lack of global internet means miscalculation skyrockets. Happens now. The only really responses to the dissent first, the Kraska stuff. Kraska does not disagree with the dissent as far as the current interpretation of U.S. General's current NDCA office disagree with intelligence and legal. That's a unique interpretation and is not dependent also on the context of other countries. We see that it's binding to be absolutely be prohibited. They didn't include the portions that can make it theory, pilots, and from and blue. One perspective passage not complying with innocent passages illegal, another view of privilege and innocent passage ensuring that a non-innocent passage under this perspective not a breach of U.S. state disposition, American position of provisions concerning innocent passage, and if we convention on current terrorism, continues on in 19 issue convention not prohibit non-innocent passages equals for the constitution of and non-innocent law passage of rival principle. And Gatlin gets completely and also pulled over versus in Article 19. I'm just sort of under semester rush completely and also Article 192 of all students and with communication system or installation cash or any other activity not having to do with ban on possible prohibitions. Also extend the Hutchins evidence right in the INC that specifically talks about how intelligence gathering is going to be banned and it's not innocent passion and also UCLA specifically bans all intelligence UCLA currently specifically bans all intelligence gatherers. The second Hutchins card under the second Hutchins card 20 specifically says that UCLA prohibits any active claiming information that the purchase of the coastal state specifically will prevent us from doing intelligence gathering, and also all other evidence is from like 2012. It specifically talks about how the U.S. and its consensus are like they were from over 10 years ago. All our evidence is more recent and talks about how right now the Senate is concerned that joining UCLA would mean that we can't do intelligence gathering, which obviously it's more recent and proves that right now the Senate has like new Senate views mean that we would absolutely be bound to Article 19. Also, the Hutchins cards are more recent specifically talk about how right now the consensus is that we would be totally prohibited from doing it. The Hutchins card from 2020 and 2021 specifically say that right now like intelligence gathering would obviously like based on correct interpretations of UCLA's intelligence gathering would obviously violate conditions of innocent passion. Says specifically that we're not allowed to do it right now. And then you said it. These parts are also super prolific. If you read the evidence, it does read the evidence. This has no warrants beside kind of the U.S. asserting right now that like maybe like the balance of the 12 cards are actually horrible. They say that like state of the convention will not affect U.S. intelligence activities. However, we provided you specific lines from UCLA that obviously would mean that we would be bound to it. Obviously, we would be bound to all of their cards are super flippy and Kraska is wrong because of the re-highlighting. Obviously, we would be bound to it. Cable clock is happening as soon as we adhere to it. As soon as we adhere to it, cable clock happens quickly, causes extinction, high value depicts this debate. Also, they have no defense to cables, which means we buy that it causes extinction. All of our evidence is horrible here. We have 100% risk of the impact. Go to wait.
Okay, sorry, go to the case page. Extend the Vincent 19 card talks about how no impact of China cutting off REMs. This means at least the US has a story. This card talks about how right now the US can mine at least on land. Also talks about how right now the US has enough REMs to like we have a stockpile we can supply it in the short term, which means that at worst you buy like the Taiwan impact has like far out in the future, which means the cable definitely outweighs on time frame here. The card also talks about how, like, even when China stop exports to Japan, smugglers and other things mean that we still be able to access rare REMs. That there's then one AR tries to make this distinction between like REMs that are like only available on the continental shelf, but provides no distinction as to why those REMs are necessarily like key to our military. Like in the one AR, there's no evidence that says specifically there's a distinction between what's available on the continental shelf and what we have on land, or at least I think it was like contextualized, and we definitely can say that what we have on land right now is sufficient, and also that we have stockpiles that are definitely enough, including that what would like reasonably be smuggled into the US, which means that we have at least a significant advantage in terms of time frame here, because we have enough like REMs to like dissuade China for like at least a long time. We already see that right now America is already supplying 1/10 of the world's rare REMs without a functional distinction as to what is like on land versus what is in the ocean. You can say that, and there's no ground line as to what is like sufficient to like conduct our military operations. And like without that distinction, we can say that right now what is on land is at least sufficient to stop China from invading Taiwan, which is stop China from invading Taiwan, which at least means that there's a huge time frame advantage to cables. Just like top line here, like worst case scenario, Taiwan would be invaded way off in the future, where we say that right as soon as we accede to UNCLOS current interpretation of law, meaning the ambiguity with like mean other countries would be able to cut our cables immediately, causes immediate miscalculation, and nuclear war happens immediately. Chaos happens immediately, totally outweighs on time frame. Their extinction impact happens way down the road, kick the can down the road, which is good. Crassi doesn't work, and all of their evidence from forever ago, which means you like prefer current interpretations of US law or US like understanding of the law, and we accede to UNCLOS because we can't do it. Yeah. Mining estimate. Is anyone not ready? The mining advantage, they've accepted this, and just said that the way they contextualize this in is to say that the United States is still able to access stockpiles of REMs, REMs posting just stockpiles of REMs. No, this argument does not make any sense. First, stockpiles will definitely run out when we have no access to any of our other mines. Because the concede Lou and before evidence is definitely how you should frame your ballot on mining advantage. Because even if you're able to access certain amounts of stockpiles, definitely not terrestrial stockpiles will definitely not be able to not be enough to overcome not being able to access any new mining opportunities in the future. We can read all of our cards talk about the vast amount of arguments that are used in the status code to do not only to do things like technological and military innovation, but just be able to sustain the technologies that we already have in the status code, which is not only we've not able to sustain any of our current military technologies, we're not able to innovate anymore, which is to lose the temporaries and any other subsequent coalition from China, but also they've said smuggling is definitely not the sign sustaining the entire military, but definitely not in the middle of wartime, because our argument is that reception access is weak, or not being able to access it, or not able to have a robust defense industrial base, means that China will have no deterrent factor to invading Taiwan, which means the stockpiles and smuggling would definitely not be enough to try back against a breached lack of REMs for an entire warfare period, which would immediately lose the war Taiwan and concede multiple independence scenarios, including global rollout as a result of Taiwan being ceded back to China, which means things like Japan, North Korea, South Korea, India, Australia, etc. would all develop or improve the nuclear arsenals, which would cause massive global rollout, which definitely outweighs any of the telecommunication cable cutting. Go this outweighs the terms of this. There's no way that cable cutting in the Arctic, which has been felt by years of cable cutting in the Baltic, as anywhere near as likely as going to happen as our DSM advantage. You can see the loot and before evidence will all say that the United States will not be able to access the ETS any DSM mining claims as of July 2025. The impact is happening in just a few months. It's happening in just a few months. As opposed to the impact that has already happened has already been happening for years in the Baltic, and they've not established any bright line or any sort of tipping point for conflict, or when these cables would be cut, or how that, or even an explanation of how they would go nuclear. No efficient extension of a terminal impact in the SMH power should be extremely hesitant and have super high bar for evaluating any tomorrow impact scenario or explication. They've dropped the USPTO evidence, the cites experience, it cites empirical evidence of admirals in intelligence gathering submarines having used and abided by treaty laws for over 50 years, and all of those intelligence gathering vessels have been deemed as peaceful and have been granted innocent passage, which proves that even if our understanding of Article 19 might be problematic might be problematic on paper or inimical to U.S. interests, it does not matter, because the United States vessels are already operating under the premise that our intelligence gathering vessels are granted innocent passage, and other cooperating UNICLOS countries are granting us innocent passage, which is customary, and which means it definitely solves, which means that there's no risk of, first of all, no impact, no explication. Also, it's irrelevant because it already happens in the status quo. Good debate.